there's one thing that'll stop all your goals, aspirations, things you want to attract as far as relationships in the workplace, outside the workplace, opportunities. That's fear. Not just fear of putting yourself out there, but fear of not meeting up to an expectation. And it all comes down to that. You want all these things without an expectation back on you? How selfish is that? How selfish is that? You want service, but you don't want to pay. You want goods and services, but you don't want to pay what is required. You want great relationships, great interactions, a great physique. You want to be wealthy. You want to have freedom of your time. But you still want it without any expectation from you. Expectation from you as in what you will require to attract those things, preserve those things, and grow with those things. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? The number one way you sabotage anything is with that fear. The fear of not meeting up to that expectation and not putting yourself out there. So two areas, before and during. So how do you intend to fix that? How do you intend to get this ingrained to the point you understand that there's going to be something required from you? There is no such thing as you have all these dreams, goals, aspirations, and things you want to accomplish without something required from you. You have to be what you want to attract. And not only that, but while you attract that thing, you have to keep being accountable, disciplined to keep it. Because this is how a lot of situations, opportunities, relationships, and just a lot of things that are given to us in life are sabotaged because of our own insecurities, because of how we feel about ourselves, because it's ultimately that. If you feel some type of way about yourself in a negative way, there's certain things that you will not do for self-care, for self-love. But if you truly care about yourself, you will do things to show it. So all the things you want to attract is great. That's a great first step. But it still requires something from you. I don't want you to get into something precious that may never come around again, whatever it is, and you'll be the cause of it dwindling and possibly never seeing an opportunity like that again. So you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, am I really this scared to not meet up to an expectation? And from there, you gotta figure out how you can meet up to expectations, because there's always going to be expectations. You have them. So isn't it fair for you to meet the expectations that I have as well? It comes down to that. It comes down to extreme amount of self-awareness, extreme amount of self-examination. You gotta be able to examine yourself. And part of being successful in anything that you do and getting to that point, keeping it and growing with it, is being able to self-assess first. I cannot, at this point in my life, I don't have what it takes. I'm not willing to do what it takes to be an astronaut. Even though I say things like you can be anything you can be, if you put your mind to it, you will get it. But at this point in my life, I am not willing to do the work necessary to be that. And that's okay. You gotta be able to admit that to yourself. You have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I know I had this goal, but I don't deserve it because I'm not willing to do what's required for it. And that's fine. It doesn't make you a bad person. It truly doesn't. But you have to be honest with yourself, because if you don't, you're eating yourself alive each day. Because being in that dream state, on imagining yourself with all the things you dream of, is painful. It's painful to wake up to your reality, to not see it there. So you have to come to peace with the fact that you're not willing to do what it takes for this thing that you want to attract. And that's fine. It doesn't make you a bad person. But back to the fear. That is what is holding you back in those situations. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Figure out what is required from you and make sure to do a little bit on a consistent basis. That's it. Nobody is perfect, but every single thing requires something from you. And if you fail to meet those requirements, don't be surprised if you sabotage things. Don't be surprised. I'm not perfect. I never will be. But I always strive to be because it's exciting. It brings hope to life. It brings something to you that that is growing, because what isn't growing is dead. What isn't growing is dead. There is no in between. What's the point of life if you're going through it through the motions and not trying to expand on anything? Our goals and priorities are different, but I'm sure there's some area in your life you're trying to grow in somehow, some way, right? For me, it just so happens to be self-improvement, right? Whatever that means to me. So you gotta find that for yourself. But ultimately, I don't want you to let this fear take over, right? Figure out what is required from you. Figure out what you need to be, so that when those experiences come, you don't let that fear of not being enough, of not sabotaging, make you ultimately sabotage. That's the thing. You deserve more in this life, but it requires something from you. And being scared to meet that expectation says something else too. It says that you're preparing to not meet the expectation. Because if you're really doing all you need to do, you don't have time to be fearful of that. Because the things you got in your life is because of who you had to become, what you had to overcome, and the character you became to be able to handle what those things come with. But like I said before, all the goals that you have require something from you. Being scared to go after it, or being scared to be in it and to possibly sabotage it, is a reflection on the things that you're possibly doing or failing to do. You gotta be able to self-evaluate, and that's fine. It doesn't make you a bad person, but be able to open up your mind and perspective that widely. Not things are not happening against you; they're happening for you to show you something. That's what I'm trying to say. But that's it for my video. Final question: are you letting this fear stop you from doing what you need to be doing on a consistent basis? That's all it boils down to. If you deserve to do things like you say you do, why don't your actions reflect? And if your actions really reflect it, why are you attracting great things in your life and sabotaging them? Just wanted to get you to think a little bit. If this video was of value in any way, subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section on how fear could sabotage you starting and keeping something special. Anyways, thank you so much. Like always, get better every day, optimize yourself. I'll see you next video. God bless.